All right. Hi there, and welcome to week 12. Hope you enjoyed not having much to complete last week. I've already met with a couple of you for your individual meetings. Thank you so much for being flexible and willing to do that. I think that's going to be really helpful in terms of making these last few weeks a great finishing up experience for you in this class. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in one of the other videos for today. But this is the content for the week, talking a bit about social media. And then next week we'll also talk a little bit about social media and digital communication in addition to working on the revision process. So that's kind of what we're up to. I love this image of vintage social networking. It's from an online site, and I just think it's really funny because it is very true that a lot of these things that we used to use in sort of quote unquote analog, we now also do in digital. But I think about it and I think about how many different types of people that I interact with, and there are some people that don't use social networking or social media in my life, some different audiences, if you will. And so some of these are pretty funny for me to think about this idea of Skype being equivalent to the telephone because interacting with some of my family, we don't use Skype and they're very analog. So I really like this image here. Okay, so before we start on the content, I want to share with you some of the important terms and differences among these terms. I would say these are things you probably want to walk away from this class understanding. Certainly, I'm not interested in you memorizing the definitions, but I do think they're important for you to understand the differences when people are talking about these different terms. So the first one is something that you're probably very familiar with, the idea of social networking or a social networking service. This term refers specifically to the platform or the service. So that's like Facebook or LinkedIn. Twitter is a platform. Pinterest is a platform. So that's the particular service, the network that is being referred to with that term. The term social media is used a lot more broadly. And really what this is intended to encompass is all internet-based applications that really build on this idea of Web 2.0. Web 2.0 is this idea of interactivity. So it used to be that you'd put up a website and it would just be up there. And it would only have information. But the idea behind Web 2.0 was being able to interact with information on a website. So whether that was leaving comments, uploading a video, something like that, the idea of back and forth, okay? So social media really allow us to create and exchange content, user-generated content. So we're the users, we're able to generate a video or comments or something like that and post it, share it to internet-based applications that are referred to as social media, okay? Then there's this idea of digital media, and this is even broader. This is media that is in any kind of digital format. So it can be software, it can be images, it can be video games, social media, ebooks, digital audio, if anybody listens to podcasts. I'm a podcast nut. All of this falls under the category of digital media. And then, of course, we get to mobile media. And mobile media, obviously, is stuff that goes on a mobile device. So whether it's your smartphone, whether it's your tablet computer, whether it's a PlayStation 2 device. I don't know if that's cool anymore, but that's something from my youth era. Some sort of handheld gaming device. So mobile really means, and it does not include a laptop, okay? So things that show up on mobile or things that are considered mobile are on your smartphone, on a tablet, or other small device, okay? So understanding the differences among these terms is pretty important to understanding what are people specifically talking about when they use these terms. So in order to prepare you to be well versed, I wanted to share with you these definitions. Okay, so as I said, this week we're talking about social and digital, and I included this slide, which is a clip of some information from the Pew Research Center. And if you click on this, it is linked to the website that this information comes from. And this is a really interesting, first of all, it's an interesting site. I don't know if I've shown you things from the Pew Research Center before. They're a nonprofit, nonpartisan, what they call themselves is a fact tank. They do a lot of research and gather a lot of data about all kinds of different things. You can see up here at the top. They do all kinds of information, research, that kind of stuff, really good stuff. But I wanted you to see this image about the evolution of technology adoption and usage. You can read this on your own time. You're not required to, but it's definitely interesting from the perspective that it illustrates that so many people now are involved, are connected. And so when we think about talking to different audiences about our organization or our interests or whatever we're trying to promote, we need to remember that regardless of our own experiences, we really should care about social, digital, and mobile. Okay, we really should be caring about this because the penetration, as they call it, the market penetration is very, very high in that so many people use the internet, have broadband, use social media more than they used to. And so we can really reach a wide variety of audiences. And so it really means that we are all connected. But this is an expectation that an organization will likely have of you if you have any role in communication related to your job. So whether this is important to you personally or you find it interesting, it's something that audiences will be expecting. So this next slide also from Pew and also linked to, I think it is a different, it's from the Social Media Update in 2016. So at the end of every year, the Pew Research Center does an update on social media, and they ask people about what is the platform that they, social media platform that they use the most. And you can see here by far and away, it is Facebook. Now, when you look at some of the other information I'm going to share with you today and some of the articles that you're going to read, Facebook is not always the best choice for you to use to get in touch with your audiences. So that's something to think about. But I really did want you to see that these are the leading social networking systems, the leading platforms. So Facebook, again, far and away. But then Instagram is really coming up here. Pinterest, yes, LinkedIn a little bit, and then Twitter, no matter how much I am surprised every year that Twitter is so low, because I use it a lot, and so I think my perception is a little bit off. But it's the lowest of all the platforms that they look at here at the Pew Research Center. So something for you to know about. So this image I'm sharing with you because it's a little overwhelming, but the whole point here, and there's a link up the top here to the initial or the original by this guy Brian Solis, who is a strategic communication guru. But really the illustration here is that there are so many different types of social networks that you can use and that you might need to be aware of using when you communicate to a specific audience or a group of audiences on behalf of your organization. So the whole purpose of this is to show you, is to illustrate how many options you have. Brian Solis issues a new one of these every couple of years as things change. So it's interesting to go back and look year over year and see how it changes. Okay, so I've shown you a couple of graphs and some data, and I've pulled out this video that is called Socialnomics, and this is put together by a gentleman named Eric Qualman, and he does this every year. He updates these numbers in Socialnomics, so watch the video on your own time, but essentially what you're looking for here is evidence or data about why it's important to participate in social and digital when you are working in strategic communications or public relations. So be thinking about that when you take a look there. I want you to watch the video. The second link with Eric's name is really just a little bit of more information if you're interested in him and who he is and what he does. Might be interesting for you. Okay, so one of the great things about social media and social networking specifically is that it allows us to do genuine two-way communication. So you should have seen these before. These are the different models or theories, types of public relations. So one-way communication to two-way asymmetrical, and then the ideal here, right? The using communication to negotiate with publics, to promote mutual understanding, kind of mutually beneficial relationship. And what social media allows organizations to do is practice genuine two-way communication and do it in a way that is fairly rapid, especially compared to what it used to be before we lived in a very digital environment. So in thinking about social media as two-way communication, there's a few things that I want to draw your attention to. First thing that's really important, and to have genuine two-way communication, is you want to think about engaging people, getting them involved in a conversation, communicating, putting your message out, listening to feedback, then taking that in, adapting your messages, and then repeating that process. So you can see here a quote from your Know Thy Audience part of your Petruccia book, your Super Communicator book. Communicators like tools such as Facebook and LinkedIn because they start a conversation with audiences and they engage them, unlike traditional single directional media. So again, that's what makes this unique. So social media is a chance to share information. It's a chance to start conversations. This Tech Cocktail article that you read talks about how you can use your audiences to get information, not to just share information. So this piece talks about why use social media, and a couple of pretty important things that are takeaways from this article are that it's, social media is essentially a way for you to connect with your audiences. So this can be something that you as an individual, if you go out and start your own business or something, or you're representing yourself as a professional speaker or something like that, you can do this as an individual, or you can do this on behalf of your organization. But really, you want to listen and help. You want to connect people. There is a great quote in this Tech Cocktail article that says, really, we all want to be seen and heard by others. And so social media is a way to help people overcome isolation. And it's a way to help people build relationships. And then at the end of the article, it talks about how sometimes it's hard to measure what they call the ROI, the return on investment, in detail with social media. But it's interesting to hear what some of the folks in the article have to say about what you can tell as a result of participating in social media on behalf of your organization. So in thinking about social media, the benefits, really making connection and building relationships, which is fundamentally what strategic communication is all about. I want you to be thinking of using social media and digital media as well, really in three ways. And we're only going to focus on one of these three ways in class, but think about all of these things that we're talking about. Think about it in three different ways. One is your personal use. How do you use social and or digital and mobile technologies to communicate with friends and family, to learn new things or to develop, interests, to learn, find out more, and to be entertained. Okay. Then there's this idea of sort of it's professional, but it's also sort of the personal professional. You can use social, digital, and mobile to broaden your knowledge. You can broaden your professional network. That's definitely a LinkedIn thing. And find other people in your field of study or industry. And the third way, and this is the way that we're going to look at social for this class, we're focused on how is your client organization, using social to have a conversation between the organization and its publics, its audiences. Okay, and it's an opportunity get feedback and improve your organization. So here's that quote I was talking about. We all want to be seen and heard by others. We want to be valued for what we can offer others. We all want to belong to a community of people who value what we value, who are in some important way much like us. What happens when a brand fulfills these wants? People stick around for more. And you can replace that word brand with any client, organization, anything. So what happens when any organization fulfills these desires that people have? They are going to be loyal. They are going to stick around. A couple of great examples. One is Zappos. If you haven't used Zappos, they started out as predominantly a shoe company, an online shoe company, and that's what I use them for. They have some great. Sometimes they have great deals, but what they're really what their specialty was to start with was this idea of it's tough to buy shoes online because you don't get a chance to try them on. And if you have to purchase them and pay for shipping, and then you have to ship them back because they don't work, that can be really tough for people to tolerate. And so Zappos really started this emphasis on relationship. And what they do is they don't charge for shipping. So you see the price for your shoes online and you choose them, and that's it. It includes the price includes shipping, and then it also includes shipping if you need to return those shoes. So they work very hard at establishing a strong relationship with their customers. Another one is Birchbox, and they're very good at using Facebook specifically and Facebook Live most recently to get people to stick around and actually engage and interact with their brand. Okay. So in thinking about using social media, there are a few things that you want to think about in terms of voice. So what do you want your social media to sound like for your organization? The first thing to think about is character. What are these specific attributes? What does your brand sound like? Okay. The second one is also a little bit more like sound, but what's the attitude? What's the mood or the spirit or the general vibe of your client organization and its brand? What kind of words are important to use? Do you need to be using certain technical phrases to indicate that you have expertise in a certain area or that your company is expert in a certain area? Or do you need to be using some sort of jargon or a certain style of language? And then, ultimately, you need to think about why are you, your organization, why are you on social media? What do you hope to get from it? So these are all things that should go into looking at what they call social media brand voice. So what we're going to do here this week is you're going to look at different social media accounts and be thinking about what is the character, what is the tone. Can I tell from what the company or the organization posts on this particular platform or across its platforms, what the purpose is? Why are they there? What kind of language does the brand or the organization use? And so here's just, here's just sort of the backup to that initial chart and some examples here for you of what it might sound like to have a certain type of persona or tone and certain kind of language. Okay. I also love this image. This is sort of a funny indicator of the type of attitude or the type of perspective that people tend to have on each of these different platforms. And so if you look at YouTube, I watch my cat eat a donut, right, because YouTube is video focused. This is an old photo, as you can tell, of Instagram. But it emphasizes the idea that Instagram, at least at one point, was very focused on its filters. And so you can kind of go down here and see all the different sort of perspectives or attitudes. This is meant to be a little bit humorous, but I do think it's interesting. It just sort of illustrates the different emphases of each of these different platforms. Okay, so I want you to take a look at some of these different examples. I'm going to look at this first one with you here. We're going to look at Sharpie, which is a fun brand. I never thought about looking at Sharpie's Instagram or Facebook until I started looking at this from a class perspective. And they have some great stuff. So here is one of their here's what their Instagram page looks like. One of the ones that I really like is this one. It's from St. Patrick's Day, so it's not too long ago. What are you going to get to? What can you do with Sharpies? I mean, Sharpies are pretty constant, right? It doesn't change, the product doesn't change a whole lot. But they've gotten really creative and done short videos, lots of short videos on here about artistry and drawing and all of that kind of thing. So I think they do a nice job there of some creativity. But what's the interaction like? Probably not a whole lot of interaction there. Again, they have a Facebook page. They have some more videos here. Notice it is different, I believe primarily different content because it is a different platform. So something to be aware of and take a look at here. Some of the examples and think about what is the tone, what is the character. We'll look at this last one here, Twitter, and take a look at the DoubleTree Hotel chain. If you've ever stayed in a DoubleTree, one of the greatest things about DoubleTree is their nice warm chocolate chip cookies. And as I recall, it does not take you long to scroll down and see something related to their cookie and the fact that you get warm chocolate chip cookies when you check in. So look at some of these and think about what are the tone, what are the persona, what are the different characteristics of these brands on these different social media platforms. Also, as you look at these, think about how your organization uses social media. That's going to prepare you for your social media analysis assignment. And then again, I want to bring it back to think about yourself as well. How do you use social media? Do you use it just for friends and fun, or do you have some sort of professional persona or branding that you are working on building? And then why might you be interested in sort of using social to start building yourself a professional identity or brand? So here's the week 12 activity. There's an article that is posted, Finding Your Brand Voice. I want you to read that. And then I want you to use the social media brand voice diagram and the slides from the chart there, and complete the social media brand voice exercise, which is linked in the week 12 activity. There's a sheet for you to download. The first side is for you to complete looking at your social media presence. So choose one of your platforms that you participate on and answer the questions there. Then on the second side, choose one of your clients' platforms. It can be the same one as you choose. So if you choose your personal Twitter, you can choose your client's Twitter, or you can choose a different one. It doesn't matter. And go ahead and finish those, complete that second side using your client organization. Okay? All right, let me know if you have questions. Thanks.